Even when all I'm growing are annuals, climate plays a massive role in how my garden performs and how I need to garden in my garden. Welcome back, casual gardeners. This is part 6 of the Gardening Facts series, and today we're answering the question, what grows well in my region or climate or hardiness zone? And it's a big sloppy question, so expect a big sloppy answer. I used to think it only applied to perennials, but then I moved gardens and I learned that it applies to everything. By the end of this video, you'll know what hardiness zones tell you and what they don't, why your climate matters more than your hardiness zone, how to choose plants that thrive where you live, and how to stop fighting your environment and learn to work with it. Before we get into it, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the rest of the series. If you don't, there's a chance you might forget by the time you get to the end. Hardiness zones are based on the average annual minimum temperatures. Here in the US, we have USDA hardiness zones. If you live outside the United States, there may be a different hardiness system where you live. So my hardiness number, which is 6, probably means something very different to you if you live in another country. For example, the Canadian hardiness system goes all the way up to 9, even though it is nowhere near equivalent to a USDA zone 9, because I don't think there's anywhere in Canada that gets remotely as warm. So if you want to know how cold it gets in the winter, hardiness zones will help you out. And knowing how cold it gets in the winter helps us know which perennials are likely to survive in our gardens. But there is a lot of important information we do not get from hardiness zones, like how hot it gets in the summer. So while knowing our hardiness zone is really helpful, it doesn't give us the full picture. Two gardeners growing in the same hardiness zone can have very different results if they're growing in different climates. Climate includes a lot of important information like how hot it gets in the summer, how long is the growing season, what are the rainfall patterns throughout the year, how humid or arid is the environment, what are the seasonal extremes. For example, a Zone 7 garden in the Pacific Northwest is going to be cool and moist. A Zone 7 garden in the Southeast is going to be hot and humid. My old Zone 7 garden in Salt Lake City, Utah was hot and dry. They're all Zone 7, but you're going to have very different success with various plants in each of those Zone 7 gardens. There are 4 questions you can ask as you begin to figure out your specific climate. Firstly, how long is my growing season? Count the days between your average last frost in the spring and your average first frost in the fall. That's your growing season. If your growing season is less than 120 days long, you have a short growing season. Short growing seasons are going to favor fast-growing, cold-tolerant plants. Longer growing seasons will favor heat-loving crops and may allow for succession plantings. Succession planting is going through 2 or more crop cycles in a single year. Secondly, is my climate hot, mild, or cool in the summer? Some plants are going to need hotter summers to thrive, like tomatoes, and other plants, like lettuce, shut down in the heat. One climate factor I enjoy in the summer here in Logan is that our nights are always pretty cool, like temperatures down into the 60s Fahrenheit. And that means that my tomato plants don't have that summer lull in production as much, where you get the sticky pollen from the heat and you don't get any new tomatoes for a little while. The downside of my cool nights is that they continue into the spring and the fall. And that means that I can start losing my heat-loving plants a little bit earlier in the fall, and I have to wait a little extra time before I can transplant them out in the spring. Third, is my climate dry or humid? Humid climates are going to have more issues with diseases in the plants, but dry climates are going to see a lot more heat stress in the summer, and you're going to lose a lot more shallow-rooted plants just due to how variable the watering schedule might need to be. And number 4, how reliable is my rainfall? I understand there are parts of the world where people might not need to water their gardens at all. This blows my mind. More arid climates, like mine, mean we need to worry about mulching and irrigation plans a lot more. And Green River, Utah, where it's way more deserty even than here. That blows my mind too. That blows my mind too. So, what is your climate type and which plants will do best where you live? Let's dig into that. Do you live in a cool, short season climate? So, your summers stay cooler and your growing season is short. Looking at you, Alaska and parts of Canada. So, you're going to have challenges from your late springs and your early frosts. But there are actually quite a few crops that will do well for you. You can grow peas and kale, cabbage and lettuce, carrots, potatoes, and you're going to rock the cold, hardy berries like currants and gooseberries and sometimes some of the hardier raspberries. Do you live in a hot, long season climate? Looking at you, all of Southern California, parts of Arizona, maybe Las Vegas, Nevada. So your main challenges are going to be heat stress and water loss, obviously. But you are going to rock tomatoes and peppers, sweet potatoes and okra, and melons. And for legumes, you should try your hands at southern peas, which are a heck of a lot more heat tolerant than the English peas I grow in my garden here. Do you live in a mild coastal climate? So you may have cool summers and high rainfall. People in the UK, folks up in Oregon and Washington on the west side, not the east side where it's a lot more like here. You're going to rock the leafy greens and the brassicas. Cool season root crops should do well for you. Herbs like cilantro, parsley, and chives are going to thrive in your garden. Do you live in a dry, arid climate like me? Your challenges are going to be intense sun, even feels like sometimes in January, and low rainfall. So you're going to do well with squash and beans, peppers, and Mediterranean herbs like rosemary, thyme, and basil. When you're choosing perennials for your garden, it's fine to start out by using hardiness zones as a filter to kick out the ones that just are obviously not going to work for you. But your climate is going to be what really decides which ones work well where you live. For example, maple trees, a lot of the popular varieties, will struggle in my climate. Our soil pH is just too high, and they get a lot of iron chlorosis because the iron in our soil isn't as available from the high pH. This is especially hard on trees like the sugar maple that grows back east and a lot of the more popular ornamental maples. That doesn't mean we can't grow maple trees. We just have to pick varieties that deal well with our high pH soil, like Tatarian maples. When in doubt, try to find native analogs for the plants that you want. For example, the Rocky Mountain maple does really well here in the Rocky Mountains. Big tooth maples are another great maple candidate for my climate, and we can actually sometimes get syrup from big tooth maples. So we don't have to be super jealous of the sugar maples back east, although, to be fair, our big tooth maples don't really compare in terms of production. Native plants have evolved for our climate. They're going to need a lot less maintenance and input from us, the gardeners. As a casual gardener, I approve. If you're struggling to find resources to help you pick out natives for your landscape, one really great resource is going to be your local agricultural college here in Utah. That is the Utah State University. That's just a few blocks over there. Another really great Utah resource is the Conservation Garden Park website, which I will link to down in the description. You can go to the Conservation Garden Park and in person for free through all 4 seasons of the year, you can use your eyeballs to look at the plants that they're recommending and see what they look like in every season. So you can gauge what kind of seasonal interest they provide for your garden. And the best part is They have picnic tables. You can pack a picnic and have a great day out at the Conservation Garden Park. It's gorgeous. If you want to succeed in your garden, know your hardiness zone, but also pay attention to the climate and the seasonal variations where you live. When in doubt, start small. That way your failures don't have to be big, soul-crushing failures. And remember, you're not a failure. That idea was a failure. You don't have to give up. Just get a new idea. You're not just growing a garden. You're growing a gardener. Your garden doesn't have to be limited to what does well in your climate. That's just a great place to start. There's a mad farmer here in this valley that is growing acres of blueberries. Blueberries! If you live in Utah, you understand how crazy that is. That's just, I think, his flex. It's not cost effective, but he's growing blueberries in Utah. Flex. It's okay to flex as a gardener. Build a greenhouse. Get freaky with microclimates. Try weird fertilizers and plant hormones and gardening fads. Have a lot of fun. But if gardening has stopped being fun, learning which plants are best in your climate can take some of the sting out of the learning process. Get some successes under your belt so that you can start having fun again and build up the courage to experiment. Make sure you've liked and subscribed, especially if you're interested in natural pest control, which will be the next topic in this video series. Thank you so much for joining me here in my garden today. I hope you have a wonderful time in your own.